What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Sixth Borough Sports Podcast. I am your host, Rick Carino. Today is January 25th, and right now outside, we have about a foot and a half of snow. It is blizzarding, and we got to watch some sick NFL games today. Championship Sunday, sort of disappointed. I'll get into that in a bit. I just want to go over the games real quick. The Seahawks and Rams just finished up. And what a game that was. Both of those teams were fully capable of winning the Super Bowl, and they're much, much, much better than the Patriots. For the majority of the game, the Seahawks had all the momentum, responding to every counterpunch that the Rams had threw with a counterpunch of their own. And it seemed just like they were just going back and forth, but the Seahawks were pulling away. And the game almost completely turned on a dime as soon as Tariq Woolen started running his mouth at the Rams sideline for what seemed like he walked the entire sideline. He wanted smoke with everyone on the Rams. It was kind of, I don't want to say inspirational. I kind of got fired up watching him talk that much shit in one sitting, like, because he had something to say to everyone. But then the flag came out. I was like, oh yeah, that was probably very stupid. Puka Nacua scores a touchdown to fade to the front corner of the end zone the very next play, while Tyreek Woolen got burned on that same play by Puka. And at that point, you just assumed that the Rams, like, that was the turning point. Like, the Rams were going to win the game after the Seahawks were finally, like, slaying any demons they had. Sam Darnold, looked like he was going to go on, and he eventually did. But from all the momentum immediately shifted back towards the Rams. And it got to a point of where the Seahawks didn't have a response to their next possession. They turned the ball, or they didn't turn the ball over, but they had to punt the ball away. The Rams were methodically driving down the field. The Seahawks defense couldn't come up with a stop, and it got to the Rams were about on the 15-yard line, give or take. And the Seahawks bared down, and they won the game right there. Devin Witherspoon, who's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL at the moment, he made two consecutive plays towards the back half of that possession on third and fourth down, where he completely shut down any opportunity for a Rams receiver to make a play on the ball. And that won them the game, because the Seahawks were able to take over from there and just kill clock and get the Rams to use their timeouts. That game was just so fun to watch. Sam Darnold balled out today with a ton of help from JSN. JSN, I mean, talk about someone that I'm happy to have on one of my dynasty teams, because that is a bad, bad man. He is so damn good. It's him and Jamar Chase, who I have both for probably the best receivers in the NFL. And maybe Justin Jefferson once he eventually gets a quarterback again. But JSN is a demon to have to cover. He might have 200 yards in the Super Bowl. There's not a cornerback. Christian Gonzalez is not going to be able to keep up with JSN. He's a good cornerback. Don't get me wrong. He's a top cornerback in the NFL, but JSN is so much better than whatever Christian Gonzalez is going to be able to do. And I'm really not worried. I think the Seahawks, with the way this team is constructed, they are so dangerous on special teams. Rashid Shaheed is a candidate to break one off to the house at any point. They are so good on offense. Kenneth Walker, turns out all he needed was Zach Charbonnet to tear an ACL to turn into the workhorse that they thought they were getting when they drafted him. Their defense is ferocious. I know Tariq Woolen took a stupid, unsportsmanlike penalty call that nearly gave the game away, but he is also a total ball hawk. I would not want to be an opposing receiver on lining up across from him. And I guess we can use that to get into this. The New England Patriots are back in the Super Bowl after having probably the biggest cakewalk schedule I've ever seen a team have to get to a Super Bowl. I get it. They played some pretty tough defenses, and the conditions that they played in were very just not ideal the entire time, but you're playing teams that had no chance of fighting back for themselves. You only had to beat defenses. The Chargers, Justin Herbert was helpless. He's behind the worst offensive line in the league. Not through any fault of the Chargers. It's just they all got injured 3 games into the season. Joe Alt's gone. Rashad Slater didn't even see the field this year. He tore his ACL in preseason. CJ Stroud is going to be playing in the XFL or UFL, whatever it's called now, in 2 seasons because Jared Stidham looked more competent than he did today. And Jared Stidham only had 2 turnovers. The first one, which is the only reason that the Patriots even scored this game, is because the turnover happened on like the 20-yard line and the Patriots recovered on the goal line. Drake May runs it in for a touchdown. But this game was really decided because Sean Payton got cute and decided to go for it on 4th down when you knew that this game, that points were going to be at premium. The Patriots have a solid defense, and they're going to have a good enough defense to keep Jared Stidham from doing anything. I think if Bo Nix is in this game, I don't even think Bo Nix is that great of a quarterback. I think the Broncos win by 3 touchdowns. I'm not kidding. The Patriots had absolutely nothing going on offense the entire game. Ramondre Stevenson was able to run the ball a little bit, but he was the only part of the Patriots offense today that was any bit effective in any capacity. Drake May had 86 total passing yards the entire game. And you mean to tell me that the Patriots deserve to be in the Super Bowl? Yeah, you play who you play. I'm not going to argue that. But acting when you're Dave Portnoy and you're all of these barstool massholes that are jumping up and down and waving flags and acting like this Patriots team has gone through adversity and actually played legit teams. I'm sorry. The Seahawks are going to beat you by 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks. And it's going to be hilarious to see the coping that comes out of those types of masshole fans. I can't wait to see you guys so upset. Vance Joseph did all he could to keep the Broncos in this game. Jared Stidham really wasn't that bad. Like I said, he only had 2 turnovers. He threw an absolute seed at the beginning of the game. It was like a 55-yard bomb to Marvin Mims that ended up in their only touchdown with like Courtland Sutton scoring the play or 2 later. I don't think the Patriots can hang in the same universe as these Seahawks. Drake May, you're a legit quarterback. Mike Vrabel, I like you as a head coach. You're actually a very great head coach, but your rosters are nowhere near good enough to be competing with these Seahawks, who, by every metric at this point, they were the number 1 defense in the NFL, or at least the NFC. I forget what the Fox broadcast said earlier. You're not going to be able to scheme open Kayshon Boutte and Stephon Diggs and Pop Douglas when you have guys like Tariq Woolen, Devin Witherspoon. They're going to get clamped the whole game. And that brings us into our Super Bowl preview. I'm going to look on DraftKings right now and see if the odds are up yet. But we've already basically covered it. The Patriots technically should stand no chance. But you never know with whatever devil magic Bob Kraft is doing in the owner's suite every game that's getting the Seahawks to pull these out. I'm just a little careful on where I'm putting my money. I guess pregame or pre-recording, I should say, pre-recording that the Patriots were going to be 5.5-point underdogs. And right now it just opened up on DraftKings that the Patriots are 4.5-point underdogs. So I was a point off. I really thought 5.5 was going to be the line. Maybe it moves. There's probably going to be a ton of money moving on to the Seahawks the closer we get to this game. I would be very surprised if the Patriots covered. Again, stranger things have happened. The over-under is at 46.5. I think that could hit. I think that's probably the safer play than a spread bet. But right now, Seahawks are minus 230 live line. The line actually just changed in front of me right now. So with caution, hammer the Seahawks. Hammer JSN anytime touchdown. hammer a Ramondre Stevenson touchdown. Those are my 3 picks for the Super Bowl as of this moment. Getting into some goings on around the actual New York area, the Knicks are just, they should have not let that game yesterday against Philly get as close as it got. They really, 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 really tried to lose that game. If not for a generous, and I'm saying that with full seriousness, that was a generous no call on Tyrese Maxey on the game time shot. We're probably going to OT, and with the way that fourth quarter had played out and with the way that momentum has been going, the Knicks were going to lose. When Cat fouled out at the beginning of the fourth quarter, the game really shifted because the Knicks were dominating in the third quarter. And then as soon as Cat fouls out, things completely unraveled. They already weren't dealing with Embiid well. He was dominating. He had 28 points at the half, and he wasn't as efficient in the second half, but he was also affecting the game and allowing the Sixers to be able to come back. And that stemmed from Cat fouling out, because I know Cat isn't the best defender, but he was at least a presence that Joel Embiid had to account for. And it really screwed the Knicks up. Mitch Robinson came in and he was fine, but he's not the same presence that Cat is when he's on the floor. He's not a threat to score. So it just made the Sixers have a much easier time defending. And at this point, the Knicks fan base is reaching a fever pitch on what to do about Cat. I think they've simply had enough of him. I think the large majority of the fan base is fed up. For what the Knicks gave up to get him has simply just not worked out. He's played too poorly and is actively costing Knicks games. He seems like every other time he's getting bumped under the rim, he's coming out with an injury. And I don't love the fact that the Knicks front office has already come out and said that they are committed to keeping Cat and they have no plans on trading him. And I'd say, yeah, that's obvious because he's completely tanked his value. He's not going to get you anything in a trade. He won't get you a first round pick because of how poorly he has played and how injured he has been. And I think Leon Rose is going to have to take a look in the mirror and realize that he pushed his chips in on the wrong guys. The 2023-2024 Knicks team that played so damn hard and played so well and defended well, and Thibs had them running like a well-oiled machine. They just lacked the pure scorer that was a constant threat to take the heat off Jalen Brunson. They're trading away Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, plus a first-round pick added into that for Cat, was giving you some, like, those were some of your biggest rotational pieces. Like, Julius Randle was a competent 3. He was another scoring option that was not every time reliable, but he at least was a threat that you knew you had to defend. Dante DiVincenzo is your perfect 3-and-D guy coming off the bench. And as much as Julius has been the ire for Knicks fans, and he was always in the crosshairs for when the Knicks fans wanted something to blame for something going wrong, he was there to help drag the Knicks out of the depths of the NBA irrelevancy. And just having that type of mentality of where you knew how bad this team used to be when you were the only option to on the floor to score at any point, to you now being a complimentary piece probably would have been huge for him. We never really got to see him with those 2023-2024 Knicks because he was hurt for that playoff. And this Knicks team overall, compared to what they did the last 2 years, they just don't defend as hard as they used to. Now that Tibbs isn't in the picture, they don't have the pure scores to keep up with the offense that Mike Brown wants to implement. These Knicks, they just don't have a pure knockdown shooter that the true championship contenders have. Like the Jalen Brunson is just about the only one I trust to make a shot in clutch time. Maybe OG as well, but Jalen is by far and away our best option with the ball in his hands when the Knicks need to knock down a big shot. And even then, sometimes it feels like he is just chucking up prayers, and for whatever reason, they've been going in. And I don't ever have a problem with the shot selection that Jalen Brunson has. He's typically the best scorer on the floor for the Knicks at any given point, but he needs someone else to take the heat off of him and just allow him to not be the end all be all in terms of the Knicks offense. Because when everyone else is cold and it's only Jalen Brunson scoring, they're very easy to beat because the defense isn't there anymore. So they can't just overcome it by having Jalen Brunson have these 40-point games every single night. And I do think if the Knicks continue to flounder, you have to consider trading a Mikal Bridges. He's a good player. We've gone over this plenty of times at this point on this show. Mikal Bridges is a fine player, but that's it. He's just fine. He doesn't do anything exceptionally well. He can score 30 points pretty occasionally, but it doesn't seem like he's doing them as frequently as he used to when he was on the Brooklyn Nets, probably because he was the number one option there and they had no other choice but to give him the ball enough to score for 30 points a game. But he's been nowhere near close to those 5 first-round picks that were traded to get him. Even if the Knicks don't trade for Giannis with those 5 first-round picks, they could have gotten so many depth pieces and so many other rotational pieces to fit in, to score, to play defense, to run this run and gun offense that Mike Brown really wants. Tyler Kolek has been a great story. Jordan Clarkson was solid to begin the season, but his minutes have gotten reduced pretty drastically over the past couple of weeks because of his poor play. Deuce is always a solid 6 or 7 coming off the bench, but he shouldn't be seeing extended minutes. And Mitch has the ability to be an all-world defender, but he's so inconsistent, and he's always just one wrong step on the court from a season-ending injury, it seems like. So you never know what you're going to get with him. And with the Knicks having only 3 first-round picks, one being this year and the 2 being in 2030 and 2032, they could probably benefit from recapping some of the picks that they were missing out on. And if they don't hit on this 2026 pick, they are going to be in some deep trouble because they need reinforcements. They need another rotational piece to bring into the lineup that is going to be a scorer and be able to defend well. And trading Mikal Bridges to someone like OKC or Houston that have a plethora of first-round picks that they don't know what to do with, someone with just so many picks that they could just get maybe 2 first-round picks, maybe a couple second-round picks in a trade back and be able to recomp that value that you lost when you traded from him in the first place and be able to start building this team through the draft again, because I don't think you're going to be able to solve this team with the little assets that we have left. It doesn't seem like they're ready to take the next step, especially right now. They got blown out by that Detroit team who we shouldn't have lost to. And it's really rough going for the Knicks right now. I think Leon Rose pushed his chips in and went all in too early with the wrong guys. I think Leon Rose got a little too excited hearing the prospect of Karl Anthony Towns coming and playing back for his hometown team. And the same way that he tried to assemble the Nova Knicks. Sure, Villanova won a championship together with all of those guys on the floor, but you got rid of one of the main rotational pieces for that Villanova team in Dante DiVincenzo. It doesn't seem like they are going to be able to truly compete with the Spurs or OKC or Houston, even if they do make it out of the East. They were supposed to be able to make it out of the East this year without a problem because we're not dealing with Boston and we're not dealing with Indiana. We should be better than the Detroit Pistons. We should be better than the Orlando Magic. We shouldn't be having to worry about them and taking those guys to we shouldn't be having to worry about taking those guys to a 7-game series. But it doesn't seem like this team is good enough to do that. It seems like every playoff series that they'll be in is going to be a rock fight. And the more that those types of games go on for the Knicks, the less I like their odds. If you told me that the Knicks were going to be getting into a rock fight last year and the year before that, I'd say that's excellent. The Knicks defend well. They play hard as hell. This year, it just doesn't seem like it's the same team chemistry as a couple of years before. Let me know what you guys would do there, because I don't like the Knicks aren't my specialty, and I would benefit from some outside opinions here, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. And keeping in the basketball realm within close proximity to MSG, the Seton Hall team that I was singing high praises for and praising nonstop and fawning over at the beginning of the season. They've been nothing but a paper tiger since the start of Big East play. Sure, they beat Providence in Providence. They had those wins against Creighton and Marquette. But that loss to Paul yesterday was nothing less than pathetic. I mean, they had 3 points in 9 minutes to start the game off. 3 points. Take a second to think about how nearly impossible that is to do at the Division I level for men's college basketball. 3 points against DePaul, who have been the Big East doormat for what seems like the last 2 decades. I legitimately don't understand how that's possible. There are dudes that Shaheen Holloway could have plucked off of the intramural leagues that are running in Walsh Gym right now that could have given you better scoring options than what was on that court Saturday afternoon. Bud Clark is legitimately the only one capable of hitting a jump shot regularly. And if it's not within 15 feet, that's not going in either. He can't shoot threes. No one on this team can shoot threes. The amount of just straight up bricks that just rattle off the back of the rim and go out of bounds, it's kind of, I don't know how any of these guys got Division I offers. I truly don't. Because sure, we play hard defense, but at this point in the season, it looks a lot like we were just hacking away and getting favorable officiating for the first time in Seton Hall's history. And now that we are dealing with the bigger, badder, more talented Big East teams, and that the playbook has been out on us, we can only score in transition. And we're just easy to stop. We don't know how to run an offense. If we see a team go to a zone defense, it's like the first time they've ever stepped on a basketball court. Like they just don't know what to do. Shaheen, I love you. I think you're a good coach. I think you are the right person for this job. But this level of offensive ineptitude for a Division I program is unacceptable. There's no other way to put it. I know your team's identities are defense first, but you need to be able to start recruiting guys that know how to score the rock. You had UConn on the ropes. You had St. John's on the ropes. You were up by 15 and you couldn't close because you could not score. You held them to 65 points and you couldn't beat them. Two of the best teams in the nation, you held them to less than 70 points and you could not beat them. And it doesn't matter if you're holding these teams to less than 70 points when it's a miracle if you can break 50. It shouldn't be that hard for Division I athletes to be able to regularly make layups and to hit 75% of their free throws. At this level, those are non-negotiables. You're in the Big East, right? This isn't the MAC. This isn't the this isn't the Mountain West. This isn't teams that just don't know how to play East Coast basketball. We're not playing in a mid-major conference. This is supposed to be the best conference for basketball in the nation. You can't tell me that our NIL situation is so bad that we can't recruit guys that can shoot 80% from the free throw line. How many games have our free throws cost us to this point? We've doubled our win total from last year, and then we haven't won a game since. There's still time to climb out of it. There really is. But now we have multiple Q3 losses and bad ones at that. They're basically quad 4 losses. And if we had a UConn win on our resume, if we had a St. John's win on our resume, that would buoy us enough to weather this storm a little bit better. We had both of those games in the palm of our hands, but because we can't make our layups and we can't shoot free throws, we're going to fall out of a tournament spot. We're going to be playing in the NIT again. And no one wants that. Sure, the NIT run a couple of years ago after we got screwed out of a tournament berth was fun. It was cool that we won that. But no one on earth cares about the NIT outside of the teams playing it. I get it, that was an exceptional year where there were several teams that could have made the tournament over others. And it was outrageous that we didn't get a bid. But we don't want to be a team that's competing for an NIT championship every year. That's not something to strive for. Leave that to the mid-majors. Leave that to the teams that really aren't able to compete at the level that I know we are capable of competing at. We are legitimately 2 scorers away, one off the bench and one in the main rotation. 2 consistent scorers that can shoot 30% from 3-point, make 75% of their free throws, be able to shoot 90% from within 3 feet. I don't think that is asking too much. And if the season continues on this downward spiral that we've been in the entire month of January, there needs to be some serious soul searching on where this program wants to go. We can say, hey, we're Seton Hall. Basketball is a fun thing that we have to do on campus and a fun thing that our students can go to. Or we can properly invest in this basketball team, properly give Shaheen the resources, giving him a general manager, a larger NIL budget, an offensive coordinator maybe, because we cannot continue to use our NIL as an excuse as to why we're at the bottom of the Big East standings every year. Miami of Ohio is 20-0, whatever. Sure, they're playing mid-majors, but like they're playing great basketball regardless. Nebraska is 20-0, a team that hasn't been good in basketball in a very long time. Something's got to give here, man. The college landscape has shifted completely, especially now when we have guys that are coming back from the pros and taking away playing time from little children. It's embarrassing what the NCAA is allowing to happen, and I think that they're doing it so that Congress can step in and openly say like this is unacceptable. But we need to be able to start competing. If we're not going to be able to land transfers, go start going after these high school recruits that should be able to shoot the ball properly, because they're going to be overlooked for grown men. You know, we could have 5-star prospects come here. We could work on developing them. I feel like Shaheen is going to be the perfect developmental coach for some of these high school players that are being overlooked because of the transfer portal. And now we're having G League players and professional Euro players come over into college. But Seton Hall needs to take themselves seriously first and not treat it like a joke. It's as simple as that. St. John's, UConn, you guys are doing your things, continuing to run the top of the Big East. Villanova is right there with you guys. That UConn Villanova game in Storrs, Connecticut yesterday was one for the ages. Villanova gave UConn everything they could to get that game just to overtime. And then UConn eventually pulled away. For most of that game, UConn fans were really uneasy if that was going to be your second loss at home this year. And Kevin Willard played them brilliantly. I do miss Kevin. As trivial as he was for the Seton Hall fan base at times, I do miss his recruiting skills and his leadership. And I used to think that they used to be poor. But he's proving to do very well with the resources that Villanova gives him. Maybe Seton Hall should take note of that and seeing how he's doing. That he actually has the ability to go out and get good players for him. I really don't have too much else to discuss today, guys. This is going to be a really short episode. You know, the Yankees haven't done anything since signing Cody Bellinger. Is anyone surprised? The Mets have made a couple moves, but we really mostly talked about them last episode. They haven't done anything since then. I think the Mets are well positioned in being aggressive when they were being very much doubted in the beginning of the offseason, especially when all of those players left, but they are starting to put together a pretty decent roster. They're not anywhere close to where they need to be, but they're going to be a lot more competitive than I thought they were. So with that, I am going to leave you guys tonight. Probably will have a bonus episode in the middle of the week. We have something special. I was kind of talking about it before, but I have a friend of mine coming on to talk on the landscape of college basketball and what is going on with allowing professional players to come back in and how our future of the sport is going to be determined. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, stay safe, stay warm, like, subscribe, comment, do your thing. Probably going to have a larger Super Bowl preview next week, and we'll talk to you then. All right. See you later.